Hi everybody, Richard Tromans here again at Artificial Lawyer. Today we're doing another product walkthrough, this time with Draftable from Australia. To tell us more about it is Casper. Hi Casper.
Hi, Richard.
Tell us a bit about yourself if you can, and then a little bit about Draftable, and then we'll get into the walkthrough.
Sure thing. As you know, my name's Casper. I work for Draftable as the what we call the product lead, but effectively, I'm the product manager for Draftable. We started off in document comparison work over a decade ago, building a general purpose document comparison tool for a wide range of industries. It's a side-by-side comparison tool, very popular in insurance and financial services. And a few years ago, we started receiving inbound inquiries from law firms, legal teams, asking if we could produce this thing called a red line, which we'd frankly weren't very familiar with at the time. But we kept getting more and more inquiries about it. And as a result, we started looking into things and found out that there was a really strong market demand for a legal comparison tool entry into the market. People were looking for choices, and so we focused our developers onto building a red line solution. And what you see in front of you now is Draftable Legal, and we launched just over a year ago. We're pretty
Fantastic.
excited by the reception.
Fantastic. And just be actually, I would normally ask this question at the end, but I'll ask it
Mhm.
now. And this is worldwide. This is not just for Australia. This is for UK law firms, US law firms,
Yes,
so forth. Fantastic, fantastic. So if you're
yes.
watching this and you're wondering, is Draftable applicable to me? The answer is yes.
That's right. Yeah, we've got staff all over the world. So North America, within Europe itself, as well as the UK. We've got offices in Belfast, as well as in Australia. So truly global company with a global team.
Fantastic. Right. I'll let you take it away.
Sure. Thank you so much. So what you're seeing in front of you now is Draftable. It's a desktop software. So it's everything is on the machine aside from your activation. We never see your documents. We don't process your documents. It's all done on your machine, which is so important. Now, I'm going to take you through just a few things today. We're going to look at what types of files can be compared, how you can upload the files, how you can configure your comparisons, like what settings you can use, what your comparison outputs look like, and then I'll just take you through a couple of time-saving features. So Draftable is an all-in-one solution. It compares Word files, text files, PDFs, PowerPoints, Excel, and even free text entry as well. And it's all done from this one application you see in front of you. Our philosophy in designing Draftable Legal was really to try and acknowledge that lawyers are very time poor and they need a solution that works where they work. So we have created more than 20 different ways that you can start your comparison based on how you like to work. I will show you very quickly how we just browse for a file on a computer, a very simple process. So you click browse, you open up, and there you have your file browser. You can select your file and open it from there. Now, if I've already recently selected a file I want to compare, I have a select from recent list here available as well. Now, I've got the iManage integration enabled here because we know there's a large number of law firms are using iManage. We support NetDocuments as well as SharePoint, World Docs, and Epona 365 as our key document management system integrations. Within all of those, you'll have an option like this where you can, within Draftable, you can actually select to find your file in your DMS, and it's going to open up a dedicated file browser menu, which is typically from an API. So it's just going to look the way that your document management system looks. In this case, it's iManage, and it's going to bring up the file browsing functionality for you to load either a file or a version of a file, as you can see here. So I've got my files. Closing that, that's fantastic. But frankly, most lawyers don't want to open up a new software to be able to run a comparison. So let's look at how you might work from Draftable if you actually had iManage open and you were working in iManage. So I've got iManage Cloud here, and I've got my file. So I can click on this little checkbox here, and then I have draftable context menus. I can load compare from there. I can right click and I can find multiple options for how to load files in Draftable. I can just load the file I've selected. I can choose to smart load the two most recent versions of the file. I can choose to select from a list of versions of the file. So Draftable will actually pull up all the versions available with the metadata, the document number, the document version. I can select the two I want to compare, drop them in. Draftable is smart. It knows that the most recent version is the one that I would like to treat as the newer document. So it's loaded using that metadata in a logical way. It's very, very handy, of course. I could also just drag and drop a file if that's easier. If I load a file and I realize I've loaded the wrong one, I can hit this select version button and bring up that version selection menu as well. I can change the version, or I can actually select two new versions to compare and reload those as well. So again, it's all about convenience. Sometimes you're going to start a comparison because you've received an email from a colleague. So of course we have an integration with Outlook. Here I've got all of my various documents. I don't know which ones are there. It's a bit difficult, so I can just open the Draftable tab. I hit compare attachments, and just like with the versions in iManage, Draftable will pull open a list of all the files attached to that email, and I'll be able to choose the files that I need to load for my comparison. There they are. I can also just right click on an individual file, and this email doesn't have any text, but if I had a body text, I could right click and hit add to compare. And that would actually load the text that I've selected into Draftable as free text. I can also just enter text here, hello world, and I can, from most applications, I can simply drag and drop text that I've selected as well. Okay, so that's Outlook, the other big place that we know lawyers work and need to be able to start a legal document comparison would be from Microsoft Word. So I'll pull up a Word file. Here I've got my contract of sale. And much like with Outlook, you'll see we've got two options. We can compare the file with Draftable. If I hit that, it's just going to load the file that's open into Draftable, as you can see there. And like with Outlook, I can actually select text. I can hit compare text. It will load the text into Draftable for comparison. There it is, loading into the free space available. Or I can do what I did in Outlook. I can right click it and hit compare text with Draftable as well. So as I said before, many, many ways to load files in Draftable. Now I'll just go back and load a couple that I can actually run a comparison with here from the select from recent function. Now, before I go ahead and hit compare, we do try and keep our user interface as clean and simple and easy to use as possible. So really the main choice that we offer people is what kind of comparison they would like to do. Now, as said, we built Draftable Legal specifically to cater to the legal market. And so we focus on producing redlined outputs, but we produce those in Draftable in our purpose-built viewer, which I'll show you in a minute. We can just go straight to a track change file in Microsoft Word if that's the preference. And we also offer what we call a red line in Word, which is just it's the same as a track change, but without any track change metadata. So it's a static markup, very good for sharing externally when you want to keep the exact formatting right, you want a metadata clean without issue. We have our side-by-side comparison, which is our original comparison product, hugely popular, not just outside the legal industry, but we see about 20 to 30% of all comparisons run by legal customers are actually leveraging side-by-side, which is a purpose-built comparison algorithm specifically for PDF comparisons, which we know can be a problem when converting into Word files and track change markup. We also offer redlined outputs in Excel, and I can show you that shortly. Now, when you're running a redline, one of the main things would be to make sure the rendering sets are appropriate for your use case. We use a concept called profiles, and that reflects rendering sets. So I have those available to me to select here. If I hit the settings and I just go into the redline section, I have all of those profile or rendering set options available to me. I can choose what elements in the document I would like to compare and which ones I would like to ignore. I have the option to choose to see my changes at the character level or word level. I can choose what I want to do with comments. Do I want to compare them, keep them from one document from another, or hide them altogether? I have the option to add in a default summary page, either at the start or end. I can customize the author of the changes that are identified. I can do that from the office settings of the last author or my user, but I can also customize that author name entirely. I can customize the output file name. And of course, all of these settings can be configured by administrators. So they can be set up at your firm level, they can be set up at team level, they can be set up at an individual level. And of course, at the end, you can see the actual markup schema with the colors and the revised lines. Okay, so I'm ready to go. Let's run a comparison. Here we have a red line being run in Draftable. So this is going to produce my red line inside of Draftable's purpose-built viewer. And that viewer comes with a series of very useful features for review purposes. In particular, we have the ability to review changes and click on them like you would in Microsoft Word, where you're able to see the changes and click through them on a navigation bar. But in addition to that, you're also able to leave comments, on changes, you're able to make tags of changes, and those are able to be exported and shared with others. And here we go. Just full screen this so we can get a good look at it. So the viewer is here. Let's just take a look at our document. So Draftable does everything that a lawyer would expect it to do so far as comparisons are concerned. We deal with tables quite well because we know a lot of documents are formatted as tables. So here we've got text that's in a table, it was moved outside a table, and you can see that very clearly. We've got moved text here, and there are edits made inside of it, and that's been distinguished very clearly. We've got a table of contents, and it's formatted appropriately despite the changes that have been made. There's another table with some edits in the cells, very easy and clear and clean to see a deleted row as well. So it pretty much looks exactly as you hope it would. As I mentioned before, we have this change list on my right-hand side where I can click on a change and it will immediately go to where that is in the document. I can add a note, please review this change, hit enter on that. I can also use the tag, flag that as a high priority. And then if I were keen to just cut to the chase and look at the most important changes, I can use a powerful filtering system where I can say, I only want to see high priority or things that have got notes added to them. I can also filter by the location of a change. I can filter by the type of change, the element that has been changed. Is it a table? Is it a break? Is it in the table of contents? Very powerful, very useful for larger documents. Speaking of larger documents, we have the ability to export a change pages only view that can also be seen dynamically within the viewer. So I have this change pages only button I can hit inside of the viewer, and that will hide pages that haven't got any changes during this review in a dynamic fashion. So you can see here that I've got an unchanged page. I can actually show it and I can hide it again. So when you've got 1,000-page documents, this is very handy for that first scan and review before you export to a PDF. If you need to see the changes in context, let's go back to our change here. You have the option to look at the red line and simultaneously see the same position of the input files. This is the older file and the newer file, as we call them. And you have that all sync scrolled If you click on a particular change, it will jump to the location on all 3 documents. So very handy when you want that additional information. Okay, so I've seen my changes, I've seen my comparison, that's fantastic. Now I want to make my next actions. I want to complete my workflow. One of the great things about Draftable is that you never need to regret how you ran your comparison. I've run my comparison in Draftable. Now I've decided that I need a track change document, or maybe I need a redline static. All of those are available to me. So I can just hit open track change doc, and that's going to immediately open up that output format in Word. You can see it's pulled up my Word, and there it is. It's a track change document, just as you would expect to see. Full screen that, run through. There are all the changes. I can scan through. I can continue working very easily. We call it a no regrets design principle. You don't have to rerun your comparison for different output formats. I can save directly to iManage or any other document management system in whatever format I need very easily, very quickly with one click. I can obviously save locally in print. I can copy my files to the clipboard, including my input files. So I can just drop them into an existing email I've already drafted, or if I haven't got one yet, I can just select the files that I want to attach, and I can hit send, and it's going to generate an email for me, and I'll be able to send that email on to my colleagues or my client to continue working. So again, it's a flexible tool. It doesn't do anything overly radical. We're here to provide a decent quality comparison tool, which can then be used by firms in an easy, simple, out-of-the-box way. Okay, so that's the basics of redline comparisons in Draftable. I will just show you a few time-saving features that I mentioned earlier. So one of the things that we've built into Draftable is what we call bulk compare. This is fairly simple. It's just a mechanism for you to be able to load up multiple different files that need to be run all at once. And then you don't need to run multiple comparisons, like 3 or 4, 5, 6, even hundreds of comparisons. You can just load them up, you hit compare, and then they're going to run simultaneously. So there's no limit to how many you can run, although we don't suggest running thousands. It's just going to put a lot of strain on the system. But very useful time-saving feature for document processing teams that are going to be working on this sort of thing a lot on the behalf of other users. Another very useful time-saving feature that we built in is what we call one-click compare. It does exactly what you'd imagine. It's all about reducing clicks to complete your comparison workflow. So here in the settings, I can have this set up by my administrator, or I can do it myself. I choose the comparison type that I want to run. I choose my preferred next action. In this case, I want to email, and I want to email these 2 file types. And then I can go into iManage, or I can go into iManage and hit one-click compare. I can do this from my local computer as well. I can do it from any of the document management systems. It's going to bring up for me to choose 2 files because I can only use 2. It's just going to automatically run that comparison for me straight off the bat. It's not going to ask me to hit anything. And then once it's completed that, it's just going to generate the email for me straight away. It's not going to ask me to make any additional clicks. So that's more or less it. I will also show you, just close that down. I will also show you our redline comparison. There's the email, by the way, generated earlier. Let's bring things around a little bit here. Okay, there we go. I'll just show you what our redline Excel looks like coming out now. So I'll just bring that in from another file. There we go. I can drop those there. So this is our latest algorithm that we've built into Draftable. It is able to produce a red line and markup in Excel, including markup of any formula changes that have resulted in changes to the cell values. We also show where you've got inserted and deleted sheets or columns or rows as well. And our team is currently building a PowerPoint redline tool in addition to the side-by-side comparison, which we currently offer for PowerPoint. It's just opening up on another screen. And there it is. So as you can see, we've got markup there in cells. I've got notes here that indicate formula changes, these borders just to show that that's the same formula change that's impacted all of those cells. These are all inserted rows, hence they're shaded with the blue. And you have the sheets indicating that they've been changed as well. Okay, I think I'll leave it there.
Fantastic. Very interesting. Particularly the Excel one. I wasn't expecting that. Very interesting. So just a couple of questions, just to wrap up. I guess the first one is people will be asking about DMSs. Clearly you're very closely integrated and work well with iManage. Do you work with all the other DMSs?
Yes, so we work with iManage, NetDocuments, SharePoint, WorldDocs, and Epona 365.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, effectively the vast majority of options that most law firms would be using. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And do you, and you showed examples with Word and Outlook. Does it work with the Google sort of platform as well?
No, we don't currently integrate with Google G Suite. We are focused primarily on Microsoft Office users.
Yeah, which of course is probably 99% of law firms anyway.
Mm.
And just one other question, which is, and it's a big one, which is, what's the technology behind this? Is this a sort of generative AI type thing, or is this something that you've built yourself? This is like a rules-based. I mean, what is this?
Yeah, great question. So, look, generative AI is obviously full of enormous potential, but as most lawyers, I think by now are very well aware, it has that capacity to hallucinate and to not always be reliable. Document comparison is a decades-old technology, and frankly, it's still based on where generative AI is today. It's still a technology you probably want to put in the hands of a rules-based algorithm, and that's exactly what Draftable is. We are, always actively exploring new technology opportunities, how we can leverage things like generative AI in our tools. But frankly, for the kind of accuracy and reliability that we know our customers are looking for, the rules-based algorithm is non-negotiable.
Last question. If somebody wants to get hold of this, how do they do it?
Easiest way would be to contact us at draftable.com. You can just leave a note at a contact form with our team, and one of us will be in touch.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Casper. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Richard. Lovely to be here.